The dentist's hands don't shake anymore. They stopped shaking sometime around the third filling, the third officer, the third carefully measured dose of death sealed behind gold. It's October 1943, and Dr. Kowalski, though that's not his real name, never was, the real name died with the old world, sits in his small Warsaw office watching morning light filter through windows that somehow survived last month's bombing. The officer in his chair is breathing through his mouth. Nervous. Good. Fear makes them compliant, makes them close their eyes when he says to, makes them trust. Hey, before we start, if you're here to fall asleep, perfect. That's exactly what this is for. So hit like or subscribe and drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing people from Berlin to Boston to Brisbane, all drifting off at different hours. Well, same hours, different times. You know what I mean? All right, get comfortable now. Seriously, adjust that pillow, pull up your blanket, because where we're heading, into occupied Warsaw, into a dental office that doubles as an execution chamber, you'll want to feel safe. The man in this story had none of that. No safety, no warm bed, just steady hands and a secret that could kill him if anyone found out. The officer's mouth opens wider. Inside, Kowalski can see everything. The decay, the broken molar that brought this particular Wehrmacht captain to his door, the slight discoloration on the adjacent tooth, the ridge of tartar along the gum line. The officer is maybe 30, 35. Hard to tell. War ages people. Wedding ring on his finger. Faint tan line suggesting he removed it recently for some reason. Affair, maybe. Or just polish. Trying to maintain the shine despite everything. Despite the occupation, despite the war, despite living in a conquered city surrounded by people who hate you. Small vanities persist even in darkness, maybe especially in darkness. The officer shifts in the chair, uncomfortable. The leather is cracked, stuffing poking through in places. Before the war, Kowalski had a nice chair, proper dental chair imported from Germany ironically. Adjustable, cushioned, modern. That chair died in 1940 when a German supply truck backed into the building, and the subsequent fire destroyed half the ground floor. This replacement came from who knows where, salvaged probably, like everything else in occupied Warsaw, salvaged, repurposed, made to work despite being broken. This will take some time, Kowalski says in careful German. His accent is good. Has to be. Years of study before the war. Years of German patience when Warsaw was just a city, not a prison. Any hesitation now, any stumble over words, and they start wondering. Start asking questions. Questions lead to investigations. Investigations lead to cellars beneath Gestapo headquarters where people go in and don't come out. The decay is extensive. I'll need to drill quite deeply, then fill. Gold alloy, I think. It will last. The officer nods, settles back into the broken chair. His uniform rustles. Grey-green wool, freshly pressed despite everything. The Germans maintain standards. Always maintain standards. Even as their empire crumbles. Even as the Eastern Front bleeds them dry. Even as American bombers turn their cities to ash, they press their uniforms, polish their boots, maintain the appearance of invincibility. It's impressive in its way, delusional, but impressive. The officer closes his eyes, tilts his head back, exposes his throat. Vulnerable. Completely vulnerable. This is the part that still surprises Kowalski. Even after months of doing this, even after killing how many now? 15? 20? He's lost count. The absolute childlike trust that people place in dentists. You're vulnerable in that chair in ways you're not anywhere else. Mouth open, unable to speak, unable to defend yourself. Metal instruments in your mouth. Someone leaning over you with sharp tools and the power to cause immense pain. And they just surrender to it, accept it, submit completely. This captain, who probably ordered executions this morning, who definitely participated in the machinery of occupation, who carries a Luger on his hip and the authority to shoot anyone who displeases him, he's as helpless as a baby right now, eyes closed, mouth open, trusting. It would be almost touching if it weren't so useful. Kowalski picks up his drill. The mechanism is foot-powered, old-fashioned. The electric drill broke months ago and replacement parts don't exist anymore. Not for Polish dentists anyway. So it's back to basics. Back to the old ways. Foot pedal, spinning belt, rotating drill bit. Slower than electric. More tiring. But it works. And working is all that matters now. The drill engages with a whir. The sound fills the small office, high-pitched mechanical whine that makes the officer flinch but keep his eyes closed. Always keep them closed. Can't watch the drill coming at you. Too uncomfortable, too visceral. Better to close your eyes and let it happen. Trust the professional. Trust that the pain will end soon. Trust that you'll leave with your tooth fixed and nothing worse than a sore jaw. The drill bites into enamel. The officer's hands grip the armrests, knuckles white. Good. Pain is good. Pain is distracting. Pain means he's not paying attention to the details, not watching Kowalski's other hand, not noticing the quick glance toward the preparation table, not thinking about anything except making the pain stop. Pain management in occupied Warsaw isn't what it was before the war. Novocaine is rationed, reserved for serious cases, for German field hospitals mostly. A routine filling, no anesthetic, just endure it. The strong survive. The weak, well, the weak aren't important anyway. That's the philosophy. That's the German way. Strength above all. Mercy is weakness. Compassion is sentimentality. Just drill and fill, and if it hurts badly, then maybe you should have taken better care of your teeth in the first place. The officer suffers through it. Jaw clenched around the drill, breathing hard through his nose, eyes squeezed shut so tight that wrinkles form at the corners. He's sweating slightly despite the October chill. The office has no heat. Coal is rationed too. Everything is rationed. Everything except pain and fear and the cold calculation required to survive. Kowalski drills carefully, not too fast. Fast drilling generates heat, causes more pain, might make the officer open his eyes or jerk away. Slow and steady. That's the technique. Slow and steady and thorough. Remove all the decay. Shape the cavity properly. Create the perfect space for what comes next. The cavity is cleaned, shaped, ready. Kowalski sits back. "Rinse, please," he says. The officer leans forward gratefully, spits bloody saliva into the small basin. His spit is tinged red, mixed with tooth dust and pain. He rinses with water from the pitcher. Cold water. There's no running water today. Hasn't been running water in this building for 3 weeks. Something about the pipes, something about German priorities. Water flows to German quarters reliably. Polish buildings, sometimes yes, sometimes no, depends on German mood, depends on whether Warsaw has been sufficiently obedient this week. The officer spits again, sits back. His jaw works unconsciously, testing the numbness, the strange emptiness where decay used to be. His tongue explores the cavity. Kowalski can see it moving behind the officer's cheek, exploring, assessing, preparing to accept whatever comes next. "I'll prepare the filling now," Kowalski says. "This will take a few minutes. Please relax." The officer nods, keeps his eyes closed, relaxes into the chair as much as the broken springs allow. He's breathing easier now. The worst part is over. Just the filling remains. Quick procedure. No pain. Just pressure as the soft gold alloy is packed into place. Then he can leave. Back to his duties. Back to the occupation. Back to whatever German officers do with their days in conquered cities. Kowalski stands, moves to his preparation table. This is the moment. This is where it happens. His hands, steady, always steady now, reach for the small wooden tray. 2 containers sit there, side by side, identical ceramic cups, white, unremarkable. One holds standard dental gold alloy, the mixture used for decades, proven, safe, biocompatible, the perfect material for fillings that need to last years. The other cup holds his special mixture. To look at them, you couldn't tell the difference. Same colour, same texture, same metallic sheen. But the special mixture contains one additional ingredient, one element that transforms healing into killing, one component that turns a dental filling into a time-release poison capsule. Arsenic trioxide, white powder, tasteless, odourless, deadly. The chemistry is elegant in its simplicity. Gold alloy isn't pure gold. Pure gold is too soft for dental work. It's mixed with other metals, silver, copper, sometimes platinum or palladium, to create an alloy that's hard enough to withstand chewing pressure, but still malleable enough to work with. The exact ratios vary. Every dentist has their preferred formula. Some like more gold for prestige. Some add more copper for hardness. It's art as much as science. Kowalski's special formula includes arsenic trioxide mixed thoroughly into the alloy matrix. Not much, just enough. The dosage is critical. It has to be. Too much, and the officer gets sick immediately. Vomits in the chair maybe. Seeks medical attention definitely. Gets examined by German doctors who, while not necessarily brilliant, are competent enough to recognize acute poisoning. Questions get asked. Investigations begin. The dentist who did the filling gets visited by men in leather coats who ask questions that aren't really questions. And then the dentist stops asking or answering anything ever again. Too little arsenic and nothing happens. The officer walks out healthy, continues his work, continues the occupation, continues living while Kowalski wasted an opportunity, wasted precious arsenic, wasted a chance to remove one more cog from the machine. The sweet spot is narrow, just enough to be absorbed slowly, just enough to accumulate over weeks in the liver, the kidneys, the heart, just enough to cause gradual organ failure that looks like natural illness, like stress, like bad food or contaminated water or any of the dozen other things that kill people in occupied territories where sanitation is poor and medical care is prioritized for Germans. Kowalski has refined his dosage through trial and error. Error meaning officers who didn't die, or who died too quickly, or whose deaths raise suspicions. Trial meaning successful kills. Officers who sickened gradually, who sought medical attention from confused German doctors, who underwent examinations that found nothing conclusive, who deteriorated despite treatment, who eventually died with causes of death listed as organ failure, cardiac arrest, unknown etiology. Natural causes, that's what the death certificates say, natural causes, as if there's anything natural about a healthy 35-year-old officer dying of organ failure. But the German doctors are overworked, understaffed, dealing with combat casualties and epidemic diseases and all the other medical consequences of war. One more mysterious death? Add it to the pile, sign the certificate, move on to the next patient. Too much to do, too little time, can't investigate everything. Kowalski measures carefully. The arsenic is pre-mixed into this batch of alloy. He made it last week, working late into the night in his small apartment, mixing powders by candlelight because electricity was out again, measuring by weight and volume and careful calculation. Chemistry learned in university before the war, when Warsaw had universities and futures and possibilities beyond mere survival. He mixes the alloy with binding medium, heats it slightly to make it more pliable. The gold compound becomes soft, warm, ready to pack. The arsenic is completely incorporated, invisible, undetectable by eye or smell or taste. Perfect. He returns to the chair. The officer's eyes are still closed, jaw still open. Waiting. Patient. Trusting completely. This is the final moment. The point of no return. Once the alloy goes in, once it's packed and shaped and finished, the officer is dead. Not now, not today, but soon. In weeks or months, when the accumulated poison finally overwhelms his system, when his kidneys fail or his heart stops or his liver gives out, when he collapses at his desk or in his quarters or in the street, when German doctors examine him and find nothing conclusive, when he's buried with military honours and his family receives notification that he died serving the Reich in occupied territory. Kowalski hesitates, not from doubt, from ritual, from acknowledgement of what he's about to do. This is murder, premeditated, cold-blooded, murder by poison, which is considered particularly cowardly even among murders. Not facing your enemy, not giving them a chance to fight back, just slow death delivered in secret, hidden in healing, disguised as care. But what choice is there? The Germans have all the guns, all the power, all the control. They patrol in groups, they travel in armed vehicles, they live in guarded compounds, their officers are surrounded by security. Approaching one with a weapon means instant death. Shooting one means reprisals. 50 Polish civilians executed for every German killed. That's the policy. That's the rule. Kill one German, watch 50 Poles hang in the public square. So direct action is impossible, suicidal, and ultimately ineffective because the reprisals kill more Poles than Germans. The math doesn't work. The calculation doesn't balance. You need a method that's undetectable, untraceable. That kills the target without obvious cause. That doesn't trigger reprisals because nobody realizes murder occurred. Poison fits perfectly, especially poison delivered through medical care. Who suspects their dentist? Who thinks to check gold fillings for toxins? Who imagines that the trusted professional fixing your tooth is actually killing you? Nobody. That's who. It's impossible. It's unthinkable. Which makes it perfect. Kowalski packs the deadly alloy into the prepared cavity, presses it firmly. The gold compound fills the space completely, sealing the decay, restoring the tooth's shape. He works with the precise movements of years of practice. Each push of the packing instrument is measured. Each adjustment is careful. The filling must be perfect, must fit precisely, must feel exactly like what it's supposed to be, a well-executed dental restoration. The officer's tongue explores the new filling before Kowalski even finishes. Automatic response. Can't help it. Your tongue always checks new dental work, feels the texture, the fit, the foreign presence in your mouth. The officer seems satisfied. The filling is smooth, properly contoured, indistinguishable from the healthy tooth structure around it. Kowalski shapes, smooths, polishes, uses his smallest burnishing tools to create a surface that gleams. The gold catches the morning light. Beautiful, really. If you didn't know what it contained, you'd admire the craftsmanship. Perfect dental work. Exactly what a German officer expects from a skilled Polish dentist. Done, Kowalski says. He sits back, places his instruments on the tray. The filling is complete. You may close now. The officer closes his mouth slowly, tests the bite, clicks his teeth together gently, then harder. The filling fits perfectly. No high spots, no discomfort, just smooth integration with the surrounding teeth. He nods approval. Excellent work, the officer says in German. His accent is Bavarian. Rural, maybe. Farm country. He probably grew up far from cities, far from Poland, far from understanding or caring about the complexities of occupation. He was drafted or volunteered, trained, shipped east, given orders to maintain control over a conquered population. Now he sits in a dental chair, pleased with his filling, completely unaware that he's carrying death in his mouth. Danke schön, Kowalski says. The filling should last many years if properly cared for. Many years. The irony isn't lost on Kowalski. This officer has weeks, maybe months. The filling itself will last decades, long after its host is buried, long after the war ends, long after Warsaw is either rubble or rebuilt. But the officer won't see any of that. He'll die thinking it was bad luck, bad health, the stress of occupation duty, natural causes. The officer stands, straightens his uniform, brushes away a few flecks of tooth dust that landed on his collar. He reaches for his wallet, pays in Reichmarks. The exchange rate is artificially favourable to Germans. 1 mark equals 20 Polish zloty officially. The real rate is closer to 1-to-1, but Germans don't care about real rates. They print the rules, they set the prices, they determine value. Kowalski accepts the payment, counts it. The amount is correct by official standards, highway robbery by real standards, but he says nothing, just bows slightly. Thanks the officer for his patronage, suggests he return in 6 months for routine cleaning and examination. The officer nods, mentions he might recommend Kowalski to other officers. Good dentist, he says. Skilled hands. Very professional. These Poles could learn from you. Meaning, you're one of the good ones. One who knows his place. One who serves the Reich without complaint. One who's earned the privilege of treating German patients. Kowalski smiles, bows again, thanks the officer for his kindness, sees him to the door, watches him descend the stairs, listens to the boots on the wooden steps, steady, confident, the sound of a healthy man walking toward his duties with no idea that he's been poisoned. That every time he eats, every time he drinks, every time his saliva flows, tiny amounts of arsenic are being released from that beautiful gold filling. Tiny amounts that will accumulate day by day, week by week, until finally there's enough to kill. The door closes. The officer is gone. Kowalski stands alone in his office, allows himself 30 seconds, just 30, to feel what he's just done, to acknowledge that he's just murdered a man, that the officer who just left, that jovial Bavarian with his wedding ring and his pleased expression and his recommendation to share, is dead. Walking, talking, breathing, but dead. Just doesn't know it yet. Then the 30 seconds expire. Kowalski moves, cleans the instruments, sterilizes them in boiling water on the small spirit stove in the corner, wipes down the chair, prepares for the next appointment. Always another appointment, always more patience, always more opportunities or obligations depending on who walks through the door. This is life in Warsaw, October 1943. The city that once held 500,000 people now holds maybe 300,000. The Jewish ghetto is gone, emptied, its inhabitants murdered in Treblinka or shot in the streets during the ghetto uprising last spring. The few who escaped went underground, hiding in cellars and sewers, dependent on Polish citizens brave or foolish enough to risk death by helping them. The rest of Warsaw? It continues, it survives, it endures. People wake up, go to work, stand in ration lines, cook meals from almost nothing, wash clothes in cold water, mend everything because nothing can be replaced. Live in a state of constant low-grade terror that occasionally spikes to absolute panic when the Gestapo conducts raids, or the Wehrmacht hangs resistance members in public squares, or random roundups sweep through neighbourhoods arresting anyone who looks suspicious or useful or simply available. This is normal now, has been normal for 4 years. Since September 1939, when the tanks rolled in and the bombs fell, and Poland, already weakened by Soviet invasion from the east, collapsed in weeks. Since the occupation began, since the rules changed, since survival became the only ambition, and resistance became both noble and suicidal, depending on your perspective and how much you had left to lose. Kowalski's office is on the 3rd floor of a building that leans slightly to the left. Bomb damage from 1940 shifted the foundation. Engineers evaluated it, declared it stable enough. Nobody tore it down because Warsaw can't afford to lose buildings. Every structure still standing is precious, so the building leans and everyone just adjusts. Walk slightly uphill approaching the door, walk slightly downhill leaving. You get used to it. You get used to everything eventually. That's the terrible truth. Humans adapt, even to hell. The stairs creak with every step, loud, impossible to move silently. This is both blessing and curse. Blessing because Kowalski always hears people approaching. Curse because he can't leave or enter without announcing himself. The building superintendent, Mr. Wojcik, knows everyone's schedules, knows when Kowalski arrives each morning at 8, knows when he leaves each evening around 6, knows who visits, who comes for appointments, who might be coming for other reasons. Wojcik drinks too much. Everyone knows this. He starts around noon and continues until he passes out around 9. The drinking makes him unreliable as superintendent but reliable as not informant. The Gestapo tried recruiting him twice. He was too drunk both times to understand what they wanted. They gave up, decided he's useless. They're right, mostly. But his uselessness is protective. He doesn't report suspicious activity because he doesn't notice it, doesn't remember it. His brain is too pickled to retain information. Blessing for everyone living in the building. The walls are thin. Kowalski can hear everything. The widow Chersanovska above him walks heavily. Each step thuds through the ceiling. She cries sometimes at night, loud, wailing grief. Her husband was shot in 1940 during the initial occupation, caught in a roundup. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong answer to whatever question the Germans asked. Shot in the street. Body left there for 3 days as warning. She hasn't been the same since. Nobody's been the same since. War destroys everyone, just at different speeds. Below Kowalski lives what remains of the Rosenberg family. Jewish family that survived by having perfect false papers and enough Polish appearance to pass. The mother is blonde, blue-eyed, could be German if you didn't know better. The daughter is 10, dark-haired but child-innocent in ways that haven't triggered suspicion yet. The father is gone. They don't talk about where. Kowalski suspects he's dead, but nobody confirms it. The Rosenbergs keep to themselves, speak Polish in whispers, never go out together, never draw attention, just survive day by day, hoping their false papers hold, hoping nobody looks too closely, hoping the war ends before their luck runs out. Kowalski knows their secret. Guessed it within a week of moving here in 1942. The telltale signs, the fear, the caution, the way they avoid certain topics, the Friday evening candle that burns in their window for exactly 18 minutes before being extinguished. He's never mentioned it, never acknowledged knowing. Just maintains the polite distance of neighbours who don't get involved in each other's business, because getting involved means responsibility, and responsibility means danger. This is Warsaw now. City of secrets, city of silence, city where everyone knows everything and nobody speaks about anything, where the loudest sound is the sound of Germans, their boots, their trucks, their orders, their presence, where Poles move through the spaces between, surviving in the gaps, living in the margins, enduring because the alternative is death, and death is permanent, and survival at least offers the theoretical possibility that things might improve someday, eventually, if you can just hold on long enough. Kowalski's second appointment is at 2. Polish woman, Mrs. Kowalska. No relation, it's a common name, like Smith in English. She needs a cleaning. Her teeth are in poor condition, plaque build-up, gum disease starting. This is common now. Nutrition is terrible. Rations don't provide enough vitamins. People's immune systems are compromised. Dental health deteriorates. But cleaning is simple work, mechanical. Kowalski does it carefully, thoroughly, talking to Mrs. Kowalska about nothing important while his instruments scrape away the calculus deposits. She pays in zloty, Polish currency, occupationally inflated but still accepted for transactions between Poles. The amount is small, almost nothing. Kowalski charges Polish patients almost nothing because they have almost nothing. The German payments subsidize the Polish ones. The officers who pay inflated prices in Reichmarks make it possible to treat Polish patients for pennies. There's a symmetry to this, a justice. German money keeps Polish dentistry alive. German deaths are made possible by Polish dental care. Everything connects, everything balances. Mrs. Kowalska leaves at 3, thanks him profusely. Her gratitude is genuine but also careful. Even gratitude is measured in occupied territories. Too much emotion draws attention. Better to be pleasant but unremarkable. Better to thank someone quietly and leave without attracting notice. She descends the stairs. Her footsteps fade. The building settles back into silence broken only by the widow's heavy footsteps above and the careful quiet of the Rosenbergs below. The afternoon stretches empty. No more appointments scheduled. Kowalski should eat lunch. Hasn't eaten since breakfast. Piece of dark bread. Ersatz coffee that tastes like burned grain and disappointment. His stomach protests, sharp cramps. But food requires energy he's not sure he has. Energy to prepare something from the meagre rations. Energy to chew and swallow and pretend it's satisfying. Easier to just sit here. Let the hunger fade into the background noise of discomfort that's become constant. Instead, he sits at his desk, opens the false bottom of the supply drawer. This mechanism is clever. The drawer appears normal. Pull it open and you see dental supplies, rubber dam sheets, matrices, wedges, articulating paper. temporary filling materials, everything a dentist needs, everything that should be there. But press the right spot on the bottom, just here, where the wood grain shows a particular knot, and the false bottom releases, lifts up, reveals a shallow compartment underneath, hidden, invisible unless you know it exists. In this compartment, 6 small vials, glass, cork stoppers, labels in German because the arsenic came from German industrial supplies, stolen in small quantities over months by a contact in the chemical industry whose name Kowalski doesn't know and doesn't want to know. 6 vials. He started with 12, half gone. Each vial represents approximately 4 doses if properly diluted and mixed. 24 potential fillings. He's used 12. That's approximately 24 dead Germans, or soon-to-be dead Germans, or Germans who would be dead if the dosage was correct and the chemistry worked as planned. Kowalski doesn't keep count precisely, can't risk written records, can't document murders even in coded form, so he relies on memory, estimates, thinks he's killed 15, maybe 20, more than a dozen certainly, less than 30 probably. The vague number is protective. If he knew exactly, if he could name each officer, recall each face, remember each moment, the weight might become unbearable. Better to let the murders blur together, become a total rather than individuals, a body count rather than bodies with names and faces and wives waiting at home. He stares at the 6 remaining vials, 6 more doses, 4 fillings each, 24 more opportunities. Then what? The contact who supplied the arsenic has gone silent, might be arrested, might be dead, might have just gotten smart and stopped taking risks. Either way, no more arsenic is coming. When these 6 vials run out, the operation ends. Kowalski returns to being just a dentist, just a man fixing teeth, just a Pole-surviving occupation without fighting back. The thought is both relief and disappointment. Relief because this is exhausting. The constant fear, the careful calculation, the weight of murder, the knowledge that discovery means torture and death. Disappointing because each day without resistance is a day of submission. Each German who walks free is a German still participating in occupation. Each officer who doesn't die is an officer who continues giving orders that kill Poles. He closes the drawer, locks it carefully. The key goes in his pocket where it stays always, even when he sleeps, even when he bathes in the weekly trickle of lukewarm water that passes for bathing in occupied Warsaw. The key never leaves his person. If the Gestapo raids, when they raid, it's always when, not if, they'll find a locked drawer. If they force it open, they'll find dental supplies. The false bottom requires knowing exactly where to press. Random searching won't reveal it. Probably, maybe, Kowalski has tested this, checked repeatedly. But there's always the possibility that someone gets lucky, finds the mechanism by accident, opens the compartment, discovers the vials. If that happens, everything ends. The operation, his life, possibly the lives of everyone in the building. The Gestapo doesn't limit punishment to the guilty. Collective responsibility is policy. If one person in a building is resistance, everyone in the building gets investigated. If the super doesn't inform, he's complicit. If neighbours didn't notice, they're complicit. Everyone gets dragged to headquarters. Everyone gets questioned, tortured probably, killed possibly, made examples of certainly. This is the mathematics of resistance. Your actions risk not just yourself, but everyone near you. Your courage is purchased with their potential deaths. It's selfish in a way. Kowalski knows this. Every filling he poisons endangers the widow above, the Rosenbergs below, the drunk superintendent, the other tenants he barely knows. Their survival depends on his remaining undiscovered. He's made that choice for them without asking, without giving them opportunity to accept or reject the risk. But what choice does he have? Ask permission. "Excuse me, Mrs. Rosenberg, I'm secretly poisoning German officers through dental work. Are you comfortable with this?" She'd have to say no, for her safety and his. Say yes, and she's complicit. Say no, and she knows too much. Either answer endangers them both. Better not to ask. Better to operate alone. Better to risk everyone without telling them they're at risk. This is occupation logic. This is resistance mathematics. This is the calculation that keeps Kowalski moving forward despite knowing that his courage is built on others' involuntary vulnerability. Evening approaches. The October sun angles low through his window. Golden light that would be beautiful in peacetime. That might inspire artists or lovers or people with energy for beauty. Now it's just light. Marking time. Another day, closer to winter when coal shortages will make the office unbearably cold, when his hands will be too stiff for precise dental work, when German officers might stop coming because walking through frozen streets for routine dentistry seems less appealing than enduring toothaches. Winter is coming. His 6th winter of occupation if you count from September 1939. Or 4th if you count from when occupation truly took hold in 1940. Either way, too many winters, too many years of living like this. Too many years of fear and hunger and the daily grind of surviving under people who view you as subhuman. As useful animals at best, as expendable labour, as things rather than people. Kowalski stands, stretches, his back aches, always aches. The chair he sits in while working is wrong height, wrong angle, creates strain across his lower back that's become chronic. Before the war, he'd get proper ergonomic seating, adjust his workspace, take care of his body. Now he just works through pain. Everyone works through pain. Pain is normal, expected, unremarkable. He should go home. Close the office. Walk the 3 blocks to his single room. Heat some soup if there's coal for the stove. Eat. Sleep. Repeat tomorrow. But he delays. Stands at the window instead. Watches Warsaw. From this 3rd floor window he can see several blocks. The street below is cobblestone. Pre-war. The stones are uneven from years of traffic, from frost heaves, from bombs that landed close enough to shift ground without destroying everything. Horse carts move past occasionally. Almost no civilian vehicles. Gasoline is German prerogative. Poles walk or use bicycles or horse-drawn transport like it's 1843 instead of 1943. A German patrol walks by. 3 soldiers, young, bored, rifles slung casually over shoulders. They're not expecting trouble on this street at this hour, just going through motions, maintaining presence, reminding everyone that they're here, they're watching, they're in control. The patrol passes, disappears around a corner. The street empties again. A woman appears, old, bent, carrying a string bag with something in it. Cabbage, maybe, or turnips. The vegetables that constitute Polish diet now. The things that keep you alive without providing enough nutrition to actually thrive. She walks slowly, each step careful. Old age and occupation have made everyone careful. Fall down and you might not get up. Break a bone and there's no proper medical care. Die from complications and you're just another body in a city full of bodies. 2 children run past. Boys, maybe 8 years old, playing some game that involves a tin can and a lot of running. Their laughter sounds strange, out of place. Children's laughter in Warsaw feels like anachronism, like sound from a different world bleeding through. But they're children. They play because that's what children do. War doesn't change that completely, not yet anyway. Kowalski watches them disappear down an alley, wonders if they'll survive the war, wonders if anyone will, wonders what kind of adults they'll become if they do survive, what kind of Poland will exist when this ends, what kind of future is possible after 4 years of occupation have destroyed everything that made Warsaw Warsaw. The culture, the institutions, the trust, the hope, all ground down, all broken, all waiting to be rebuilt from nothing if anyone survives to do the rebuilding. A figure approaches the building, German uniform, officer. Kowalski recognizes the walk before the face. This is Lieutenant Becker, regular patient, comes monthly, has chronic dental problems, poor enamel, tendency toward cavities, gums that bleed easily. Becker is maybe 25, educated, cultured, speaks Polish reasonably well, is almost pleasant during appointments, talks about philosophy sometimes, about music, about missing Berlin, about war being terrible but necessary, about hoping it ends soon so everyone can return to normal life. Becker is the kind of German who makes killing complicated. He is not obviously evil, not cruel, not one of the sadistic bastards who enjoys cruelty. He's just a man in a uniform doing his job, following orders, participating in machinery. He maybe disagrees with privately, but supports publicly because that's duty, that's honour, that's what being good German requires. Should Kowalski poison him? He's thought about this many times. Has the opportunities. Becker comes monthly, always needs work, trusts completely. But Kowalski hesitates. Not from compassion exactly, from calculation. Becker is low-level administrator, doesn't give operational orders, doesn't command combat troops, pushes papers, manages supplies, is bureaucrat with rifle rather than soldier with desk. Killing him removes minor cog in massive machine. Does it matter? Does it make actual difference? And there's risk assessment. Becker comes regularly, knows Kowalski's work, has history with his dental care. If Becker dies mysteriously, his medical records might get reviewed, might show pattern, multiple fillings, all from same dentist, all before death. Suspicious maybe, possibly, enough to trigger investigation. Kowalski doesn't know, can't know, so he's left Becker alive, given him proper fillings, done actual dental work without poison, made exception to his mission because the math doesn't work out. Or maybe that's rationalization. Maybe he leaves Becker alive because killing pleasant, educated officers is harder than killing smug bastards who brag about murdering partisans. Maybe morality intrudes despite his best efforts to eliminate it. Maybe he's not the cold machine he pretends to be. Maybe he's still human enough to distinguish between Germans he can kill and Germans he can't. Becker enters the building. His footsteps echo on the stairs, steady, confident, no fear, no hesitation. He knocks on Kowalski's door. Kowalski opens it, smiles professionally. "Lieutenant Becker, good to see you. Come in, please." Becker enters, removes his cap, sits in the chair. "Just a cleaning today," he says in decent Polish. "And check that filling from last month. It feels slightly rough." Kowalski examines. The filling is perfect, smooth, no issues. But Becker's tongue is sensitive, notices tiny imperfections that don't actually exist. Kowalski has learned to accommodate this, polishes the filling again. makes tiny adjustments that change nothing but satisfy Becker's perception that something needed fixing. They talk while Kowalski works. Becker mentions he's being transferred, leaving Warsaw, posted to southern Poland. Not combat duty, just different administrative location. He seems almost sad about this. Has gotten comfortable in Warsaw, knows the city, knows which restaurants serve decent food, knows which streets are safest, knows where to get black market chocolate for reasonable prices. Southern postings quieter, Becker says. Less partisan activity, fewer complications, should be easier. Kowalski nods, makes appropriate sounds, thinks, "You're leaving, escaping, taking your bureaucratic competence somewhere else where it will continue supporting machinery of occupation, and I'm letting you go. Could poison you right now. 1 dose, special alloy. You'd die in Krakow or wherever they're sending you, and Warsaw would never be suspected. Clean kill, untraceable." But he doesn't. Cleans Becker's teeth, polishes the imaginary rough spot, finishes the appointment, accepts payment, wishes Becker well in his new posting, watches him leave. The door closes. Kowalski stands in the empty office, feels something. Not quite guilt, not quite relief, just the complicated ambiguity of letting a German officer leave alive when he could have killed him, when maybe he should have killed him, when the mission suggests killing all Germans in reach but human complexity intervenes. This is the problem with resistance. It should be simple, black and white. Germans bad, Poles good. Kill every German possible. End of analysis. But reality intrudes. Reality presents Lieutenant Becker, who reads Goethe and misses his mother and pays fairly and treats Polish people with more respect than most, and is still part of occupation machine, is still enemy, is still valid target by any reasonable calculation. Kowalski leaves the office, locks the door carefully. 2 locks, both engaged. Anyone trying to break in would make noise, wake the building, alert neighbours. Not that neighbours could or would help, but noise itself is deterrent. Germans prefer quiet operations when possible. Loud break-ins attract attention. Attention creates witnesses. Witnesses complicate narratives. He descends the stairs. Each step creaks in familiar pattern. He knows which stairs are loudest. Avoids those when possible. Pointless, really. Everyone knows his schedule anyway, but habits persist. Instinct to move quietly, to avoid attention, to be forgettable. The street is darker now. Sunset fading. No streetlights. Warsaw is blacked out every night. Air raid precaution officially, though Soviet planes don't reach this far west yet. Not regularly anyway. The blackout is more about control, about fear, about making nighttime belong to Germans, making Poles afraid to move in darkness, making everyone retreat to homes after dark where they're static, controllable, not moving through streets planning things. Curfew is 9 p.m. Absolute. On the streets after 9 without German permission means arrest or being shot. The Germans are quite serious about this. Shoot first, question never. The bodies appear in mourning sometimes. Civilians who miscalculated time or had emergencies or just took risks. Shot, left in streets, collected by work crews who've become efficient at body disposal. 4 years of practice makes everyone efficient at terrible things. Kowalski walks the 3 blocks quickly, not running. Running attracts attention, but walking with purpose, head down, hands in pockets, unremarkable. Just man going home from work. Nothing special, nothing suspicious. One of thousands doing same thing at same time. His building is similar to the one with his office. Pre-war construction. 4 stories. Stone facade pockmarked with bullet holes from early occupation fighting. The building managed not to burn, though. Many didn't. The Germans used incendiary bombs liberally in 1939, set whole neighbourhoods ablaze. This building survived through luck or firefighting or divine intervention, depending on your beliefs. His room is on the second floor. What was servant quarters before war? Maybe storage. Hard to tell. The original wealthy family who owned this building fled or died in 1939. The building was subdivided, repurposed, filled with people who needed housing after their buildings burned. Kowalski moved here in 1942, after his previous apartment was requisitioned for German officers. The building superintendent gave him this room for cash payment plus free dental work. Barter economy is all that functions now. Money is useful, but services are more reliable currency. The room is small, maybe 3 meters by 4, single window, narrow bed, table that serves as desk and dining surface. 2 chairs, though he never has guests. Small stove, sink with intermittent water, shared toilet down the hall. Before war, this would be unacceptable. Poverty-level housing. Now it's normal, expected. Kowalski is lucky to have private room at all. Many people share, families of 4 in spaces meant for 1, but Kowalski lives alone, has lived alone since his wife died, since his daughter disappeared, since everything that made life ended and survival began. He doesn't think about them, can't think about them. The memories are doors that don't open. Behind those doors is pain that would incapacitate, make continued functioning impossible. So the doors stay closed, locked, maybe permanently, maybe they'll open after the war if there's an after, maybe not. Maybe some doors close forever. He lights a candle. Electricity is out, has been out for 3 days. Sometimes it comes back after days, sometimes after weeks. No pattern, no schedule, just appears and disappears like everything else in occupied Warsaw. Unreliable except in its unreliability. The candle creates small circle of light. Everything beyond is shadow. His room extends into darkness. Could be prison cell, could be anywhere. The minimal light renders it generic. Space without character, without personality, without anything that marks it as his versus anyone else's. He should eat, should heat something on the stove, but the coal bin is nearly empty, needs rationing. Tomorrow morning will be cold. Better to save coal for morning heat than evening food. So he eats bread, dry, no butter, no jam, just dark bread that's mostly sawdust held together with hope. Chews slowly, makes it last. Drinks water that tastes metallic from the pipes. Or maybe from Warsaw itself. Maybe the city's despair leaches into the water supply, becomes something you drink, something that settles into bones. After eating, if eating is the word for forcing down subsistence rations, he sits on the bed, just sits, stares at the candle, watches the flame flicker. Fire is mesmerizing, ancient fascination, humans drawn to flames, to light in darkness, to warmth in cold, to destruction in consumable form. He thinks about the captain from this morning, the Bavarian with the wedding ring, dead now, effectively dead. Walking corpse who doesn't know he's dying. Kowalski tries to feel something about this, tries to access guilt or satisfaction or triumph or remorse, finds only emptiness. The murder registers as fact, as completed action, as box checked on invisible list, but emotionally, nothing. The capacity to feel about killing has been worn away, ground down by repetition, by necessity, by the endless requirement to keep functioning despite functioning requiring horrors. Is this good? Bad? It just is. This is who he's become. What occupation has made him? A man who kills efficiently and feels nothing. A man who smiles at officers while mixing their deaths. A man who's lost humanity, not through single dramatic moment, but through slow erosion. Death by 1,000 cuts, except he's cutting others while cutting himself. Each poison filling removes something from him too, some piece of who he was before, some fragment of the person who wanted to heal, who believed in helping, who took oaths about doing no harm. Harm is all he does now. Harm is the job. Harm is resistance. The oath is dead, died with the old world. This new world requires different rules, different morality, different calculation, where doing nothing is worse than doing murder, where killing becomes righteous, where poison becomes justice. The candle burns lower, wax pools at its base. Kowalski should sleep, but sleep requires peace he doesn't have. His mind races, replays the day, analyzes decisions, questions choices. Did he dose the captain correctly? Will the death look natural? Should he have poisoned Becker? Does letting pleasant Germans live make him weak? Does killing them make him monster? What's the difference anymore between justified resistance and murder for its own sake? These questions have no answers, or they have too many answers depending on framework. From German perspective, he's terrorist, war criminal, murderer who deserves execution. From Polish perspective, he's hero, resistance fighter, patriot doing what's necessary. From his own perspective, he's just man trying to survive while fighting back in only way available. Whether that's noble or evil or somewhere undefined between depends on lens used to judge. Eventually sleep comes. Not peaceful, never peaceful. Dreams arrive like unwanted guests. The captain's face, the lieutenant's trusting expression, the widow's crying, the Rosenberg's fear, all mixed together in unconscious stew of anxiety and guilt and fear and determination. He wakes several times, sweating despite the cold, heart racing. Then forces himself back to sleep because tomorrow requires energy. Tomorrow requires functioning. Tomorrow requires being the dentist who poisons Germans while the world burns around him. Morning arrives grey and cold. November 2nd, All Souls' Day. The day Catholics remember the dead. Appropriate. Warsaw is full of dead. The recent dead in fresh graves. The older dead from early occupation. The ancient dead from centuries before who are probably grateful they died when they did rather than living through this. Kowalski rises, dresses in the cold, his breath fogs. The room is freezing. He lights the stove, uses precious coal. The fire catches, provides minimal warmth, enough to make the room barely tolerable. He boils water for Ersatz coffee, drinks it while staring at nothing, eats more bread, prepares for the day. The walk to office is automatic now. His feet know the route. His mind wanders while his body moves. He passes familiar landmarks. The building that collapsed in 40, the wall with bullet holes, the shop that sells nothing because there's nothing to sell but maintains appearance of being shop, the checkpoint where Germans sometimes stop people, not always, just randomly, keep everyone uncertain, keep everyone afraid. Today the checkpoint is inactive. Guards present but not checking papers. Kowalski passes without incident, continues to his building, climbs the stairs, unlocks the office, enters his small domain where he's simultaneously healer and killer, professional and murderer, trusted practitioner and enemy of the Reich. The morning light is weak through dirty windows. Grey November light that renders everything colourless. His office looks tired, shabby. The equipment is old. The chair is broken. The tools are worn. But they work. That's all that matters. Function over form, survival over aesthetics. The old world valued appearance. This world values only utility. His first appointment is at 9. German officer, major this time. Older than the captain yesterday, maybe 40. Scarred across the left cheek. Eastern Front veteran transferred to occupation duty. Possibly wounded. Possibly just worn out. The Eastern Front consumes men, chews them up, spits out those who survive as damaged approximations of their former selves. The major enters without knocking, sits heavily in the chair, points at his jaw. Pain, lower right, last 3 days. Kowalski examines, abscess, badly infected. This is common. Dental health deteriorates during war, stress, poor nutrition, inadequate hygiene. The major's mouth shows all these signs: multiple cavities, receding gums, signs of chronic neglect. I'll need to drain the infection first, Kowalski explains, then determine if the tooth can be saved or requires extraction. The major nods, gestures, proceed. No anaesthetic. The major doesn't ask, doesn't expect. Eastern Front veterans accept pain, have experienced worse. A dental procedure is nothing compared to what they've survived. Frostbite, wounds, watching friends die. This is just toothache. Just another minor suffering in catalogue of suffering that's become their existence. Kowalski works quickly, lances the abscess. Pus drains. Vile smell fills the office. The major doesn't flinch, doesn't react. Just sits stoically while Kowalski cleans the infection as best he can without proper antiseptics or antibiotics or any of the medical resources that might actually help. The tooth might be salvageable, or might not. Depends on whether infection clears. Come back in 3 days, Kowalski instructs. If the swelling decreases, I can fill the tooth. If not, extraction is necessary. The major stands, pays, leaves without speaking beyond minimal necessary communication. Some German officers are chatty, some are silent. The major is silent, probably seen too much to waste breath on small talk with Polish dentist. Probably compartmentalised so completely that this appointment exists in separate mental box from everything else. Just necessary task, like cleaning weapon or writing reports, done without emotional investment, without recognition of human connection between patient and provider. Kowalski watches him leave, thinks, no opportunity this time, can't poison infected tooth, too many variables, too much risk that complications arise from infection rather than poison, can't distinguish cause from effect. So sometimes he just has to be dentist, just has to provide care, just has to help even when helping means healing enemy, who will continue occupation after healing. This is the frustration. Not every appointment yields opportunity. Not every German who sits in his chair can be poisoned. Circumstances matter. Timing matters. The type of procedure matters. Kowalski has to be selective, has to be patient, has to wait for perfect opportunities rather than forcing imperfect ones that might reveal the pattern. His second appointment is 10:30. Another German officer, captain, young, maybe late 20s, fresh-faced, probably relatively new to Warsaw, posted here as occupation hardens rather than early days of conquest. Comes from safer life than frontline veterans, comes from administrative background probably. Educated, middle class, conscripted rather than volunteering, just doing duty, serving time, waiting for war to end so life can resume. The captain needs 2 fillings, upper left, small cavities, early stage, perfect for treatment, perfect for poison if Kowalski chooses. The captain sits in the chair, nervous but trusting, makes small talk while Kowalski works, mentions missing Germany, missing his fiancée, planning wedding after war, hopes it ends soon, hopes everyone can return to normal. Normal, the word hangs in the air. What normal means depends on perspective. For the captain, normal is pre-war Germany. Comfortable life, career, marriage, future. For Kowalski, normal is pre-war Poland, comfortable life, practice, family, all destroyed, all gone, all replaced by this: occupation, suffering, resistance through murder. Whose normal prevails? Who determines what normal looks like when war ends? These questions have no answers yet. Won't have answers until someone wins, until someone loses, until the balance shifts decisively and future gets written by victors. Kowalski drills, prepares the cavities. Both are straightforward, standard fillings. He could use normal alloy, give the captain proper treatment, send him away healthy. Or he could use special mixture, poison both fillings, double dose, ensure the captain dies within weeks. The decision should be simple. The captain is German officer, part of occupation machine, valid target by any reasonable calculation. His death weakens enemy, removes 1 more German from the system. Every German death is victory. Every poison filling is blow against Reich. But the captain keeps talking about his fiancée Greta, about the wedding they're planning, about the house they want to buy, about children they hope to have, about normal life he wants to resume. He's humanizing himself, maybe deliberately, maybe instinctively, maybe just nervous talking. But effect is same. Harder to poison someone after they've made themselves human, after you've heard about their hopes and dreams and plans. Kowalski mixes standard alloy, fills both cavities with non-poisoned material, sends the captain away healthy, alive, wonders if this makes him weak, wonders if he's failing his mission, wonders if letting pleasant Germans live is betraying Poland. Or maybe he's just acknowledging complexity, acknowledging that occupation isn't black and white, that Germans aren't uniform evil, that some are just people caught in machinery beyond their control, that killing them all indiscriminately makes him no better than the Reich he's resisting. Or maybe that's rationalization. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe he's lost the stomach for murder when victims humanize themselves. Maybe he's reverting to being healer rather than killer. Maybe the transformation that occupation demanded is reversing. He doesn't know, can't know, just functions day by day, appointment by appointment, poison when opportunity and resolve align, heal when they don't, survive in the space between. Hope that somehow it matters. Hope that when final accounting comes, his actions fall on right side of history, whatever that means. The day continues. More appointments. Polish patients needing care. German officers needing care. Some get standard treatment. Some get special treatment. The pattern is irregular, unpredictable, based on factors Kowalski barely understands himself. Intuition, risk assessment, opportunity, mood, mercy, calculation, all mixed together in decisions that determine who lives and who dies. By evening he's exhausted, not physically, mentally. The constant calculation wears at him. Each appointment requires decision. Each decision carries weight. Each wrong choice might expose operation. Each right choice might prevent necessary killing. There's no winning, just variations of losing slower. He closes the office, walks home in gathering darkness. Curfew approaches, the streets empty. People hurry to destinations. German patrols increase. Vehicles prowl streets. Wehrmacht soldiers check papers. Everyone moves with urgent caution. The time between evening and curfew is dangerous. Compressed hours when legitimate movement looks suspicious, because everyone should be home already. Kowalski reaches his building with 15 minutes to spare, climbs the stairs, unlocks his room, enters the cold space that passes for home, lights candle, eats bread, drinks water, sits on bed, stares at flickering flame. Another day survived. Another day of resistance or murder or healing depending on framework. Another day closer to whatever end awaits. Liberation, discovery, death, victory, defeat, something. Eventually, if he can just survive long enough. The candle burns. His shadow moves on wall, large, distorted, making him look monstrous. Appropriate, maybe. He's become something monstrous, something that smiles while mixing death, that violates trust while pretending care, that kills methodically and feels less each time. Or maybe he's hero. Maybe this is what heroism looks like when options are constrained, when direct resistance is suicide, when only path forward requires becoming what you fight against. Requires using their weapons, their methods, their moral framework, requires descending into darkness while telling yourself it's for light. He doesn't know, won't know. Maybe no one will ever know. Maybe the dentist who poisons Germans will be forgotten completely. Lost to history, buried under better stories. Stories of clear heroes and obvious villains. Stories where resistance looks noble rather than this. Exhausted man in cold room wondering if murders he commits matter or make any difference at all. Sleep eventually comes. Dreams follow. Always the dreams. The officers' faces. The trust. The betrayal. The guilt. The justification. All swirling together in restless unconscious processing of conscious choices that defy simple moral classification. He wakes in darkness, heart racing, sweating. The dreams were bad tonight. The captain's face. Not the Bavarian from 2 days ago. A different captain. One from months ago. One of the early poisonings. Kowalski barely remembers him. But the dream recreated him perfectly. Every detail, the way he smiled, the way he thanked Kowalski, the trust in his eyes, the complete, absolute childlike trust. Then the dream shifted, showed the captain dying, months later, alone in military quarters, organ failure, confused, afraid, calling for medic who comes too late, dying without understanding why, without knowing what killed him. Just suffering and fear and the terrible loneliness of dying among strangers in occupied territory far from home. Did it happen like this? Kowalski doesn't know, never knows. He poisons and the officers leave and he never sees them again, never learns their fates, never gets confirmation that deaths occurred, just operates on faith that chemistry works, that doses are correct, that victims die quietly without exposing method. Sometimes he hears rumours, officer deaths, mysterious illnesses, but never specific enough to confirm his work, never detailed enough to know for certain. Just whispers that might be his kills or might be unrelated, might be natural deaths in city where death is common, where stress and malnutrition and disease kill Germans too, where occupation exacts costs on occupiers as well as occupied. He lies in darkness until dawn. doesn't sleep again, just waits for morning, for light, for the day to begin so he can return to office, to chair, to the routine that keeps him functioning, that gives him purpose. That allows him to believe he's fighting rather than just surviving. November 3rd arrives grey and wet. Rain overnight has left puddles. The streets gleam. Kowalski's walk to work involves navigating around water. His shoes leak. His feet are wet and cold by the time he reaches the office. His socks squelch unpleasantly. But this is normal. Expected. Discomfort is constant now. You just function through it. The office is cold, damp. He lights the stove, uses precious coal, creates minimal warmth, prepares instruments, opens the appointment book. 3 Germans scheduled today. No Polish patients. Sometimes it's all Germans, sometimes all Poles, sometimes mixed. The pattern is random, determined by who needs care when, by who can afford appointments, by who's desperate enough to seek treatment despite everything. First appointment is 11, Wehrmacht Lieutenant. Unknown to Kowalski, new patient. This is promising. New patients are best. No history, no pattern. If they die, investigation is less likely to include dental records, less likely to connect death to recent filling. Clean target. 11 arrives. The lieutenant doesn't. By 11:15, Kowalski assumes cancellation. German officers sometimes cancel without notice. Emergencies, duty changes, transfers, or just forgetting. They're inconsistent about civilian appointments. Don't value Polish dentists' time enough to maintain schedules. But at 11:20 the lieutenant arrives, apologetic, briefly. Explains the delay was checkpoint situation. Doesn't elaborate. Sits in chair. Gets to business. Cavity, upper right, been bothering me for weeks. Kowalski examines. Medium cavity. Not small, not massive. Perfect for fill-in. Perfect for opportunity if he chooses. The lieutenant is young, mid-20s. Talks about being from Hamburg, about the city being bombed, about his family evacuating to countryside, about hoping they're safe, about the terror of not knowing, of receiving letters that are delayed weeks, of living in constant fear that next letter will bring bad news. This is weapon, humanization, making Kowalski see him as person with family, with fears, with legitimate concerns. Harder to poison someone after they've shared genuine emotion, after you've glimpsed their humanity. But Kowalski has hardened to this, has learned to compartmentalize. The lieutenant's family fears don't erase his participation in occupation, don't eliminate his role in system oppressing Poland, don't make him less legitimate target. Everyone has family, everyone has fears, everyone has humanity. That doesn't grant immunity from consequences of their choices. The lieutenant chose Wehrmacht, chose service, chose to wear uniform, chose to participate. His fears are real, but irrelevant. His family's suffering is real, but doesn't compare to suffering he enables. The calculation is cold, but necessary. Otherwise no one is valid target. Everyone can humanize themselves. Everyone can make themselves sympathetic. Kowalski mixes special alloy, prepares the dose, fills the cavity with poisoned material, works carefully, makes it perfect. The lieutenant won't feel anything except relief. Pain is gone. Tooth is restored. He'll thank Kowalski. Pay. Leave. Die in weeks without ever understanding why. This is murder. Kowalski knows this, acknowledges it. The lieutenant trusts him, makes himself vulnerable, shares genuine emotion, and Kowalski responds by killing him, not cleanly, not quickly, slowly, through poison that will cause suffering, that will create confusion and fear, that will kill without mercy or explanation. Is this justice? Is this resistance? Is this necessary? Kowalski tells himself yes, has to tell himself yes. Otherwise the weight becomes unbearable. Otherwise he's just murderer, just killer who uses medical access to commit crimes, just weapon pointed at targets who happen to wear German uniforms. The filling is complete, perfect, deadly. The lieutenant examines it with his tongue, nods approval. Excellent work. You're quite skilled. Thank you, Lieutenant. Payment. Gratitude. The lieutenant leaves. Kowalski watches him go, feels nothing. The emptiness where emotion should be has become familiar, comfortable almost, easier than feeling guilt or triumph, or the complicated ambiguity of knowing you've just killed someone who trusted you. Appointment 2 is at 1, German captain, regular patient, monthly visits, chronic dental issues. Today is just cleaning, routine maintenance, no opportunity for a poison. Can't poison during cleaning. Nothing to fill, just mechanical removal of plaque and tartar. Standard care that keeps patient returning. That builds trust. That creates cover for the appointments where poison does get used. The captain talks while Kowalski works, about latest partisan activity, about resistance attacks increasing, about how frustrating it is. We shoot them and more appear. It's endless. Kowalski makes appropriate sympathetic sounds while thinking, yes, endless. That's the point. You can't kill resistance. Kill one fighter and family members join. Kill civilians as reprisal, and survivors become fighters. The equation doesn't balance in your favor. Only question is whether you realize this before losing completely. The captain continues. Command thinks there's someone in Warsaw, some operative we haven't found. Officers keep dying. Natural causes officially, but too many. Too frequent. Command suspects poisoning but can't determine source. Kowalski's hands don't shake, don't hesitate. Just continue working while his mind races. They suspect poisoning. Know the pattern exists. Are investigating. Searching for source. This is bad. Very bad. Discovery means death. Discovery means torture. First then death. Discovery means everyone in his building investigated. Arrested. Possibly killed. Have they identified suspects? Kowalski asked casually. Just friendly conversation. Just dentists making small talk. No. That's the problem. The deaths are too spread out, too random. No common factor except Warsaw location. Could be restaurant, could be water supply, could be anything. They're checking everything but finding nothing. 'Cause they're looking in wrong place. Checking food and water and obvious sources, not checking dental work, not imagining medical care as delivery system. The method remains invisible, for now. But investigation is active. Eventually someone might think creatively, might expand search, might notice pattern among victims. I hope they find the source, Kowalski says. Terrible thing, poison. Cowardly thing, the captain corrects. Honourable enemies fight directly. Only cowards use poison. Kowalski nods agreement while thinking. Honour is luxury for those with power. The weak don't have honour. They have necessity. They have survival. They have whatever methods work, because alternative is accepting slavery forever. The cleaning finishes. The captain pays. Leaves. Kowalski sits alone in his office, heart pounding now that immediate danger has passed. They know. They suspect. They're investigating. Active manhunt for a poisoner who is him. For method they haven't identified yet, but might. for pattern that connects deaths to source. How long until they think to check dental records? Until some clever investigator notices that dead officers all received dental care in months before deaths? Until suspicion falls on Polish dentists? Until Kowalski's name appears on investigation list? He needs to stop. Logic demands it. Investigation active means risk has increased exponentially. Continuing now is nearly suicidal. Smart play is cease operations. Return to being regular dentist. Let time pass. Let investigation conclude without findings. Let pattern disappear through lack of new deaths. But stopping means Germans continue living. Means occupation continues unchallenged. Means victory for them. And Kowalski has 6 vials left. 24 potential doses. 24 more Germans he could kill before supply exhausts. Wasting that seems criminal. Seems like surrendering when ammunition remains. The calculation shifts. Risk increases, but potential impact increases too. If investigation is active, if Germans are confused and worried, then more deaths create more confusion, more pressure, more fear. Make them think problem is bigger than it is. Make them allocate resources to investigating ghosts, to chasing shadows, to pursuing invisible enemy who strikes from unexpected angle they can't defend against. Or it accelerates discovery, makes pattern more obvious, gives investigators more data points, more deaths to cross-reference, more opportunities to find common factor. Both possibilities exist. Both outcomes are probable. Decision is essentially gamble. Continue and maybe enhance resistance impact. Continue and maybe ensure discovery. Stop and definitely survive longer. Stop and definitely kill no more Germans. Kowalski makes decision that night, lying in cold darkness of his room, staring at ceiling, weighing options, calculating probabilities, trying to determine what serves Poland better, his continued survival or his continued resistance, his safety or his mission, his life or his purpose. He decides, continue, but smarter. Space out the poisonings more. Only target high-value Germans, majors and above, officers who actually matter. Avoid routine cases, avoid low-level administrators. Make each killing count. Make the risk worthwhile. Use remaining 6 vials efficiently rather than abundantly. This is rationalization, maybe. Justification for continuing despite increased danger. But rationalization doesn't make decision wrong, just makes it more consciously chosen, more deliberately embraced. He's deciding to risk everything for 6 more kills. For 24 more doses distributed among 6 high-value targets. For the satisfaction of knowing he fought until supplies exhausted, until chemistry defeated him if Gestapo doesn't. November continues cold and wet. Days blur, appointments flow. Some Germans get standard care, some get special care. Kowalski applies new criteria. Rank matters, behavior matters, whether officer seems important versus routine. He listens more carefully, asks subtle questions, tries to determine who actually commands versus who just follows. A colonel comes in mid-November. Older, scarred, obviously veteran of multiple campaigns, talks about the war while Kowalski examines his teeth, mentions being at Leningrad, at Moscow, at Stalingrad, survivor of all 3. That's remarkable. Most officers don't survive one Eastern Front winter. This colonel survived 3. Now posted to Warsaw as reward maybe, or because he's too valuable to risk further, or too damaged to return to combat, but too experienced to waste. The colonel needs crown, extensive work, multiple appointments required, perfect target, High-value target. If Kowalski poisons him, impact is real. One colonel removed represents significant degradation of command structure. Experience lost. Knowledge lost. The colonel's death matters in way, lieutenant's death doesn't. Kowalski provides excellent care, builds trust, makes multiple appointments, delays the crown preparation, ensures colonel returns several times. Each visit builds relationship, makes colonel more comfortable, more trusting, more vulnerable. On the fourth appointment, Kowalski places the crown, uses special cement. The poisoned filling isn't in crown itself. That's too risky, too detectable. Instead, he uses special cement mixture, arsenic incorporated into bonding agent. Will dissolve slowly as cement breaks down, slower than filling. Might take 3 months instead of 3 weeks, but more certain, better coverage. Crown won't be removed for years typically. Cement stays sealed inside. Perfect delivery system. The colonel leaves satisfied. Perfect crown. Perfect fit. Perfect aesthetics. Never suspects the perfect crime Kowalski just committed. Never imagines the death certificate he just signed. Never realizes his survival of Leningrad and Moscow and Stalingrad ends because Polish dentist poisoned his dental cement. This is victory. Real victory. The colonel commanded troops, made decisions. His death removes genuine peace from the German machine. Not just symbolic resistance, actual material impact. Kowalski feels satisfaction. First real emotion in weeks. Not joy exactly, not triumph, just satisfaction. The sense that this one mattered. This one justified the risk. This one made the entire operation worthwhile. But satisfaction is dangerous, creates desire for more, creates temptation to take bigger risks, to pursue more high-value targets even when prudence suggests waiting, creates momentum that might overwhelm judgment. Kowalski recognizes this, forces discipline. After the colonel, he waits 3 weeks, sees routine patients, gives standard care, lets pattern become invisible again, lets investigation lose momentum, lets Germans conclude maybe the poisoner stopped, maybe the threat ended, maybe they can relax. Then in mid-December, a general arrives. Actual general. Brigadier, probably. Hard to tell German ranks precisely, but definitely senior officer. Multiple staff. Security detail. The general isn't here for routine care. He's here because regular military dentist is incompetent and the general demands better. Demands skilled practitioner even if Polish. This is opportunity beyond Kowalski's expectations. Generals are legitimate targets. Generals matter. Killing a general would be meaningful blow, would create chaos in command structure, would impact operations significantly, would justify every risk Kowalski has taken. But also, generals have staff, have security, have people who investigate when they die. Poisoning general is exponentially more dangerous than poisoning lieutenant. Discovery probability approaches certainty. If general dies mysteriously, investigation will be thorough, exhaustive, brutal. Every person general contacted in final months will be investigated, including Polish dentist who provided care. The decision should be obvious, too dangerous. Pass on opportunity, give standard care, let general leave healthy, survive to poison more lieutenants and captains. Don't risk everything for one kill, no matter how valuable. But the temptation is overwhelming. This general commanded troops at Kursk, commanded defensive operations during Soviet counteroffensive, commanded the killing of thousands. His hands are soaked in blood. His death would be justice, would be righteous, would be appropriate response to his crimes. Kowalski examines the general's teeth. Multiple cavities. Poor dental hygiene for man of his rank. But generals get busy. Don't prioritize self-care. Focus on operations instead of themselves. The examination reveals 2 cavities that require filling. Upper right, lower left. Both perfect for poison. Both perfect for killing. Both perfect for committing suicide by justice. The general expects excellent care, demands it. Kowalski provides it, does the work properly, fills both cavities with standard alloy, non-poison material, sends general away healthy, alive, continuing to command, continuing to participate in occupation. He chooses survival over justice, chooses continued operation over single dramatic kill, chooses steady, sustained resistance over glorious finale. The decision costs something. Some part of him wanted to kill the general, wanted the satisfaction, wanted the justice. But larger part recognizes that staying alive is more important, that killing more Germans over time matters more than killing one important German now. This is maturity maybe, or cowardice, or wisdom, or rationalization for fear. Whatever label applies, result is same, general lives. Kowalski continues, operation persists. The mathematics of resistance favour longevity over glory, favour sustained low-level action over dramatic high-risk strikes, favour surviving to fight tomorrow over dying gloriously today. The general pays, leaves, takes his security detail, takes his staff, takes his command authority, takes his continued participation in occupation. Kowalski watches them go, feels the weight of the decision, the ghost of the kill he didn't take, the justice he didn't deliver, the righteousness he surrendered to practicality. But 5 vials remain, 20 doses approximately, enough for months of continued operation if applied efficiently, enough to kill 20 more Germans if targets present themselves, enough to maintain resistance until supplies exhaust or discovery occurs or war ends, whichever comes first. Christmas approaches. December 1943 turns toward 1944. The occupation continues. The resistance continues. The killing continues. One filling at a time. One dead German at a time. One small victory at a time in war that's measured in small victories because large ones remain impossible. Kowalski persists, survives, resists. The dentist who poisons Germans maintains his practice, maintains his cover, maintains his mission, does what he can, kills who he can, survives day by day in occupied Warsaw, where survival itself is resistance, and resistance itself is survival, and the line between them is too blurred to distinguish anymore. The story continues, but maybe here's where we leave it, where we let the dentist continue his quiet war while we return to our own time, our own safety, our own comfortable beds where dental appointments are just dental appointments and gold fillings are just gold fillings, and trust in medical professionals is rewarded rather than weaponized. Sleep now. Let the story fade. Let the occupation recede into history where it belongs, where it remains as warning, as reminder, as testament to what humans do to each other when civilization fails, and only survival matters, and ordinary people become extraordinary through necessity and horror, and the cold calculations required to resist when resistance seems impossible. The dentist continues his work, somewhere in history, somewhere in memory, somewhere in the space between fact and legend where the best stories live. His hands steady, his purpose clear, his mission ongoing until the very end. Whatever that end might be, sleep well,